Welcome back to our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Ruto's first term in office has been riddled with allegations of corruption. And many people think that those who have been appointed in office are very corrupt. Most of the senior leaders in state offices are corrupt. And most of the cases that were leveled against them have been dropped, apparently because of lack of investigation and all that. If you begin with people like Rigathi Gachagua, Aisha Jumwa, many of them. And Kenyans are going back to the archives to retrieve names of very senior officials who have got corruption cases that have not been dealt with. Now today, someone reminded the EACC that some few years ago, they had written a letter to the head of the secretary to the cabinet, mentioning very close allies of William Samoei Ruto, Oscar Sudi, Murkomen, Farouk, Kibet, Kimani Chungwa, Eden Duale, and all these people, and that they had high-profile cases against them. But the EACC later allowed them to contest in offices, and they continue to hold very high-profile offices. But before we get to this, because I want to show you this letter, today, what triggered this discussion was the fact that there's a report that many Kenyans are willing to pay bribes to get jobs, to get away with some crimes. And so this was being discussed, and the newly elected president of the Law Society of Kenya was invited to Citizen to shed light and give her thoughts on this. And she blamed, Madam Faith Odhiambo blamed the EACC as the author and the finisher of our problems as far as corruption cases are concerned. And she said that this is the body that is mandated to help avert corruption, but they are helping corruption to be perpetuated in the country. Kindly listen to Madam Faith.
I would say that I find this even in a big extent a bit hypocritical, because I feel that one institution that has highly failed Kenyans is the EACC. Because as much as you're going to say you're going to run this campaign, to what end? What are you actually doing? If we are seeing the assets recovery body that was known to be one that people feared, withdrawing cases right, left, and center. It takes judges like Professor Sifuna to stop them on their tracks. Then you're telling us that you're going to run a campaign to stop corruption. It's highly hypocritical. I think they should start within and clean up their own system and clean up themselves before they start saying they'll run a campaign.
Apparently, the sentiments of Madam Faith did not go down well with the EACC, and they attacked Madam Faith. In a letter that they gave on their Twitter, this is what they said, that Madam Faith is out of order. And they commented saying that it is not only shocking but also embarrassing for a person of the standing of the Law Society of Kenya president to display such ignorance on basic facts regarding the anti-corruption law enforcement process in Kenya. Does EACC have the power to withdraw corruption cases of a criminal nature? For civil matters that the commission takes to court directly, can she state any single case that the commission has ever withdrawn from court? Before appearing for the TV show, the panelist, an advocate of the High Court, should have done some basic research to familiarize herself with Kenya's anti-corruption law enforcement processes and related contemporary issues, such as which agency or agencies have withdrawn graft cases. Counsel is also sensitive that, contrary to her false assertion that EACC withdraws cases, the Commission is in court opposing withdrawals that it considers inimical to public interest and will continue to do so. So the EACC obviously was not very happy when they were adversely mentioned. But do you think EACC can be vindicated on the corruption cases that are going on in the country? Because you and I know that all the independent institutions that are supposed to fight corruption have been captured. The EACC, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, our courts, the DCI and everything. Now, while answering, very many Kenyans really, did not spare the EACC, and they really tortured them with a lot of strong messages. And some of the messages, in fact, before I go to the messages, I want to give you one of the letters that was given. Apparently, this was a letter that was written by the EACC themselves, indicting very powerful names. And the letter was done on 6th of May 2018. And 2018 was the second term of William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. They had basically fallen out in public, and William Ruto had taken most of the Uhuru members of parliaments and leaders, and they had sworn allegiance to him. Now look at this letter. Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Integrity Center and all that, when applying, please quote EACC and others. Now, Joseph Kinyua, head of the Public Service Government of Kenya State House. And they're writing, Dear Sir, re-update on high-profile corruption cases. The subject matter refers, we successfully completed investigation on individuals we believe through acts of commission or collusion directly benefited from the various corruption scandals. These individuals used close associates whose links we have established to defraud the public under various companies as shown in the attached annexure. We request your office to guide us on how we will move with the prosecution of the following individuals. And the individuals are Mr. Farouk, Kibet, Office of the Deputy President, Honorable Kimani Chungwa, MP Kikuyu Town, Honorable Eden Bare Duale, MP Garissa Town and Leader of Majority National Assembly, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, Senator Elgeyo Marakwet and Leader of Minority Senate, Majority Senate, Honorable Oscar Sudi, MP Kapsaret, Newton Terrer, NCPB Managing Director. The NCPB is the now, the one that is selling us some fake fertilizer. Joe Sang, KPC Managing Director. The above individual files have been forwarded to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation as well as the Director of Public Prosecution for further analysis and publications. More witnesses, including the suppliers, are lined up for interviews. It was a bit faint, that is why it's not very easy to read. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this letter might seem archaic, but the person who shared it wanted to show the EACC that they themselves at one point wrote a letter to Kinyua. Now, in this sense, three bodies are now intertwined on this. The EACC forwarded the names to the Director of Public Prosecution and DCI and all that. The only thing I don't understand, if at all, and let me just put a disclaimer, I cannot claim the authenticity of this letter, but of course it was shared. Now, the only thing I don't understand is why would they still try to get the opinion of Mr. Kinyua if their role is to maybe investigate and then forward the names to individual bodies? Why would they still, be trying to get the indulgence of the office of Kinyua? Because this is why I'm telling you that these offices, the EACC, the Office of the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, and the DCI, and all these are the same. They have been captured. because the names that have been mentioned there are names that are holding high offices. Farouk is still the man that you rarely see, but wields a lot of power, part of the deep state. Kimani Chungwa is now the majority leader in the National Assembly. Eden Duale is now the CS in the powerful docket of defense. Kipchumba Murkomen is now a CS in the powerful docket of transport. Oscar Sudi, still a member of Kapsaret constituency, very powerful, wielding powers. He was mentioned together with Murkomen in the G2G oil deal, so they are deal makers. I don't know where Newton Terrer is. I don't know where Jusang is, but these are names that were really mentioned adversely. Some of them whose names don't appear here were jailed, but when William Ruto got to power, he went and retrieved them from jail. And so I want to say that the EACC cannot purport to be removed from the bodies that are perpetuating corruption. They are part and parcel of it. We have never seen some powerful names. The last time I checked, they were telling us that some members of parliament or some ministers are now putting on Rolex watches, very expensive watches. And they were doubting where they have gotten this money within the shortest period that they were appointed to power. And we are still waiting for them. The only thing that they do is to look for some policemen who are taking 50 shillings, and they want to showcase that as if they are working. And many Kenyans seem to feel that Madam Faith was right, because there is no way you can vindicate. Do you think, for example, today, ladies and gentlemen, if these people were to decide that they want to prosecute Kimani Chungwa, and William Ruto makes a phone call and says, don't dare, do you think they can proceed with the prosecution? They cannot. From time immemorial in the successive governments, even in the Kibaki and Uhuru government, these individuals, these bodies have been, captured. I remember sometimes back, Aaron Rengera, who was heading that office, used to tell us there was a time he gave an assertion that he was going to catch, his net was going to catch big fishes and small fishes. But later, all these officers have proved that they are always used to settle political scores. If someone is not swearing an allegiance to the government of the day, what do they do? He's frustrated so that he can toe the line. And we've seen that. There was a time I saw them trying to go after Oparanya. I don't know where that case ended, but Oparanya was saying that there have been attempts to lure him back to Ruto so that he can support the government. And so EACC, holds a very powerful tool in either ensuring that we end or perpetuate corruption. This letter, if at all it was written to Kenya, where did it end? Were the cases all closed? And how come they were given the green light to contest, if at all they had some cases on their head? They really need to come out and explain this, because this person brought this. I think it was someone who was sharing this just to show them. This one is called "I Am a Truthful Man," and is saying arrest them still, that the cases are still alive. You can arrest them. Do you think if EACC decides from this letter that they want to revisit this case, because I don't know whether they were vindicated, I don't know where the cases ended, do you think he can manage with the powerful names that have been, lined there? If we have to go by the past records, all these cases, if at all they are still live, they will be vindicated. They will be terminated as a result of lack of proper communication, proper investigation, and all these things. I don't know what to think, ladies and gentlemen, but Ruto's first term in office is being haunted by allegations of corruption.